guys, what's up and welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. So dare I say it, today we have our first member from PKR on the podcast. I may have had some before, I can't remember, but he is definitely the youngest PKR member I've had on the podcast. He is an Aliran member. He's the head of the Students Bureau of the Youth Wing of Negeri Sembilan PKR and a former deputy speaker of the UKM Students Union. He's a psychology graduate from UKM. He's currently a research intern at the Centre of Combating Corruption and Cronyism. You can check out many of his amazing articles on Aliran. I read all of them and I must say I was very impressed with his analysis of certain hot topics that our country is facing today. So please welcome my guest, Ammar Syabil Mohammad Azam. Hi Ammar, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Okay, so where do we start?
Okay, no, first I think I got a big shout out to Prof. Tajuddin. Thank you again for making this connection, and we'll see where this go. Hopefully we don't mention his name too many times. So I'll start with you, man, because of your political connection with PKR. You're very much in the infrastructure of PKR, the system, right? Yes. It's a very hot topic party now.
Yes.
Your party elections are coming up in May.
Yes, exactly.
So, you know, we'll be touching on that. But let's start from the beginning. Why did you choose to join PKR?
Why did I choose to join PKR? Okay, the main reason why I choose to join PKR is because of Anwar's reformist agenda. That's the main thing.
Okay.
Because I think I was inspired mainly by Asian's Renaissance reading. But I think it's mostly due to my roots in student activism.
Okay.
Student activism. Back then, I was in Democrat UKM. Okay, it's funny you didn't mention Democrat UKM. So I was a student activist back then.
Okay.
In UKM, Democrat. So mainly what we did was we become the democratic voice of the students, and it shows a lot of. We portray ourselves as the anti-administration, also the anti-government. And we were pretty much in support of PKR's movement, I would say, the Reformasi movement. Not trying to say that we are associated to it, but because they touch a lot on issues regarding social justice, it's in cognizance with it, social justice, human rights, and statelessness, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that we felt very strongly about. So as I become active in student activism in campus level, and so I saw PKR as a party ideologically aligned with mine as a Democrat. Yeah. So I thought, and then I started reading the Asian Renaissance, and then when PKR became PKR became a part of the unity government, he wrote a book on Madani script, the book. So I read it too, and those are the things why I'm inspired by his ideas. Ideology regarding social justice, global justice, and even his ideas on the man and nature. Because when we talk about sustainability, it's all about the nature based on the human rights framework of, I would say, the United Nations. But what I like about Anwar, he talks a lot more on humanity. And I think we're going to touch a lot more on when we talk about humanity in relation to the national education philosophy. Because coming from a student activist, I'm very much in touch with, and also a student leader, I'm very much in touch with the university administration, the governance. So, and I always think that our university has been neoliberalized. And one of the things that make me rethink about revising the university governance is by looking back at the national education philosophy, which Anwar was the one who actually drafted it, which is creating a holistic human, intellectually, physically, emotionally, and so on. Yeah, and his emphasis on the idea of man, going back to why I joined PKR, it's what made me became intrigued, had a piqued interest in being a proponent of the PKR agenda. But for now, as we see, as PKR has become the government, these are the things where, there's allegations surfacing saying that PKR is not being in its agenda anymore. It starts to sidetrack.
I think because it's tough, because eventually when you're in government, it's always easier to be on the opposition side and make comments and come up with ideologies. But I think when you go into government, there's sort of give and take that you have to play. It's just the game.
Yeah, it's just the game. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, I wanted to get into PKR, but since you seem to admire Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim a lot, this may be a tongue-in-cheek question, but recently in Parliament, I think YB Raya came up with a statement that he said that, like you, he also looks up to PMX a lot, and he said that he holds Anwar Ibrahim in the same light as Nelson Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree.
Same light as those two people?
Okay, if you want to talk about the intensity,
Okay.
the intensity of the things the plights that Nelson Mandela has faced, I wouldn't say it's exactly the same, but we would put in the context of Malaysia, I would say the core things in terms of the infringement of democracy, where Anwar Ibrahim was IS-8 basically, I would say it was he shared a similarity with Nelson Mandela in that sense, and he was trying to voice up against corruption, not colonialism obviously, but you can say a bit of, because it was UMNO during that time, man. So UMNO was using this neo-feudal tactics, neo-feudal, the roots of this, the idea, the roots of their corruption comes from neo-feudalism, because they were using the people, the rakyat, by giving cash handouts or even mini projects, so that it creates people say a political patronage relationship. So in that sense, there is a bit of colonial roots there.
But what do you say to the fact that PH has been accused of doing the same? In a few by-elections, they have thrown money to win votes. What do you say to that?
I would say to that, well, the ones who did that, I would see them as the few bad apples in PH.
Okay, so that includes YB Ngakoming as well. Who
Yes. Yeah, there's something I quite disagree with him, because he was, regarding the issue of PTPTN, he did quite overgeneralize, blaming some students for not repaying back without actually going through. He's not even a part of the PTPTN committee. What does he know much? He doesn't go through statistics on who are the students who are not able to repay back, because we all know the cost of living is at an all-time high. There are reasons for why they are not repaying, and I do agree there are some graduates. Who are actually trying to avoid from repaying by declaring bankruptcy, but there are actually graduates who are having a stagnant wage, and he was he overgeneralized on that part, and he called them out saying, "Bayar balik PTPTN. This is your moral obligation," basically, which to me is quite shallow coming from DAP, because I'm sorry to say, not DAP, Ngakoming.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. I'm so I'm so interested to find out what's your view on DAP then.
Like now?
Right now, okay, let's go, man.
What angle would you want to know exactly?
How would you gauge their performance as a component party in Madani as compared to when they were opposition?
All right, so it is performance, ministerial performance. I would say that, okay, for example, Ngakoming, he mentioned about regarding the PTPTN. I think we can put that aside because that's not what in his portfolio. But I think his work as the minister of Kerja Raya, right? Is it? He is doing pretty well. He's been announcing a lot of projects, and he's been implementing it even. But I think I want to touch more on Stephen Sim. Yes, Stephen Sim. Okay, this is one, because I'm a former student activist. So one of the things the student activists that fought for was for hashtag intern bukan buruh percuma.
Okay.
So there was interns who are not even being paid.
Yes.
And one of the component leaders that voiced out regarding this unpaid internship was Democrat. So we voiced it out. We went to the Ministry of Human Resource, and he took note, and he actually launched an initiative through the talent lab, My Next Talent, if I'm not mistaken, through a website where companies will get a tax exemption by giving allowances that are higher than even 1,000. Like me myself, when I worked in a fintech company, I received 1,200. Back then, you wouldn't receive 1,200.
No.
Yeah, and that happened because Stephen Sim listened. Yeah, so I will give a grade A for Stephen Sim.
Yeah. If we look at the past by-elections, one thing that has stood out is definitely the low voter turnout, especially among the Chinese community.
Okay.
And PKR together with Harapan definitely rely on the non-Malay vote a lot, right? A lot to where they are today.
Okay.
What do you credit the low voter turnout especially the Chinese voter turnout? Is it DAP's fault? Are they doing enough, do you think?
Okay, maybe I'm going to touch a bit more on the Chinese community, maybe, because I'm sorry about PKR, because you did mention about PKR relying on DAP mainly for Chinese voters. I beg to differ, actually.
Okay.
Okay. I think to a certain extent that we do need DAP, the component, to have Chinese voters, but do bear in mind, like, PKR is a multiracial party, and we do see a lot of Chinese individuals who are Chinese, who are becoming member of parliaments, who are representing the voice of the Chinese community.
Okay.
So to say that that we might be over-reliant, I don't think so. We are over-reliant on DAP, actually. Not saying that we can just kick them out. No, we still need them.
That's about 40 seats, I think.
But regarding the by-election, I can't really say about that, because we do need to look back on, need to do an analysis on that particular area. If, let's say, the area is low in Chinese, low Chinese individuals, so those could be a playing factor, an integral factor on why we are not having enough votes, because there's low Chinese individuals. But what should be the main thing right now is, how do we actually attract, the prime thing right now is to attract the Malay voters to PKR. Yeah, because right now, the ones who's in the tussle for the Malay Muslim narratives are Bersatu and UMNO.
Yes.
Where the PKR chip in? Where do DAP even chip in, actually? Because I think the one who's doing a good job is like Stephen Sim, for example. He's been portraying himself as the one who's the proponent of the idea of Madani. He's been reciting a lot of Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace be upon him, for his journey in his life, being in politics and in his religious life. And I think that's a good way on how to even attract the Malay voters. PKR, well, we can't actually be at par with how UMNO and PAS Bersatu is playing, because they took it to the extremities. Like you can see Ahmad Saleh himself, how he's playing the narrative.
Mr. Multicultural himself.
Yeah, Mr. Multicultural himself, yeah. Mahathir and so on and so forth. Yeah, so these are the things where we need to put a line, like for PKR, on how do we set the line between showing ourselves as I would say maybe the Malay progressive, but at the same time, how do we nudge their hearts to see us as we are actually fighting for you guys? Because Malay and Muslim is an intertwined identity, and if we don't touch on the Islamic part, Islamic element, it seems like we're not fighting for their rights. When actually, when we're fighting for their rights, we are actually touching on advocating for social justice, human rights, eradicating poverty. Those are the causes that's actually more impactful towards the Malay, rather than this fight, this tussle about Islamism versus secularism and so on and so forth. So yeah, so this is my take. Yeah.
Interesting you bring that point, because I've always questioned this and I've not got an answer. Why is it that PMX struggles to get the Malay vote, right? Because if you put all the facts on the table, he comes from ABIM, right? And if I'm not mistaken, he is the founder of ABIM.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
The founder of ABIM. And many people, especially non-Malays, have the belief that he was also part of the shift of UMNO to become more Islamized in their approach.
Yes, true.
But despite all those facts, why do you think today he struggles to garner the Malay vote?
Okay. One thing about ABIM, the background of ABIM, and also PKPIM. Yeah? PKPIM is Persatuan Kebangsaan Islam Pelajar Malaysia. Actually, he was the president of PKPIM before that. And when he got into his youth ages, then only he thought of creating ABIM lah. And from my experience in being in PKPIM, we are progressive Muslims, and like I mentioned, the general majority of Muslims that we see, Malay Muslims from kawasan desa, kampung-kampung, they are more attracted, more easily swayed with narratives that are I would say far right narratives. But the idea of progressive Muslim is more touching more on the moderate part. Those things are not something that's can easily be used as a tool to attract the Muslims, because Malay Muslims, the general populace, because when it comes to this idea of far right, the roots of it is sensationalism, sensational. It gives you some kind of a purpose when you say that DAP nak buka kedai arak ke apa whatsoever lah, contoh for example, these things are more, it touches their hearts more rather than the things that's been talked about by the progressive Muslim idea, which is on social justice, good governance. These are the things that are not I would say that touches the hearts of the Malay Muslims. So I think those are one of the barriers why that Anwar is so challenging for him to actually attract the Malay Muslim voters. And that's one. And number two, I think it's his efforts right now, his direction, is more focused on global justice mainly. I see. Yeah, because right now he's the chairperson of ASEAN, and I'm not trying to say that he's degrading or making it look as if it's a minute thing. This trying to attract the Malay Muslim voters, but as much as people like to call him some sort of a populist, but I think the actions that he's taking is not a populist. Yeah, he's taking a direction where he needs to get things done. And that's my take on this.
But it's interesting when you consider what you're essentially talking about is the psyche of different groups of voters within the Malay Muslim diaspora, right?
Okay.
Now, but let's take it back. Like, if you look at the formation of Islam as a religion as well, it started off with Nabi Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he brought together different tribes to carry the black rock that now is the Kaaba.
Okay.
Sort of representation of unity, community. My number one leader, if you will, of all time, one I look up to the most is Malcolm X, who was the part of the Nation of Islam. And, he started off as being a very civil rights activist, focusing predominantly, if not only, on African American, their concerns.
Okay.
But there's a very beautiful story about when he goes to perform his Hajj. And when he goes and performs his Hajj, he sees that Muslims are comprised of many different people. He very famously said he saw blue-eyed, blonde Muslims there. And so when he comes back to the US, that's when he changes his entire approach by even being open to work with different communities. So the thing about Islam is, it sort of shows a backstory or a history of togetherness, of community, of solidarity. Considering that, then why is it that there is such a division between the different, maybe you could say income groups, maybe you could say different demographic factors among the Malay people?
Well, what I can start with is the indoctrination from the opposing parties. That's one of the things why it's still this idea of PKR having this challenge on how to get their votes, the hearts of the Malay Muslim voters generally. Because when this indoctrination, like I said, it goes back to its sensational roots. If PAS Bersatu keeps on playing with this narrative, even UMNO, despite them being in the retail government, I'm just going to call them out, they need to get rid of this extremist narratives, these far-right narratives. And I think, I won't say that's the only way to actually, for PKR to get the Malay Muslim voters. Because if you look at Anwar, his approach in trying to attract the Malay Muslim voters, he's doing it in a very gradual approach, approach, because as you can see, he did announce about the RUU 355. Okay, those are actually one of the plus points to actually attract the Malay Muslim voters, and also he launched the Congress Ekonomi Bumi Putra. That's regarding the something to do with Keturunan Melayu, right? But it's not something to do with Malay supremacy actually per se. It's actually more on taking the welfare of the Malays, the Bumi Putras, and he launched that. So the things that he's doing here, bits by bits, will actually consolidate, bring the principle of togetherness to the Malay Muslim voters, and also how he, and I like how his approaches, comes to level merakyatkan, like when a flood happened in Kedah, he actually went down and meet these people. So these are the things that, this flair, this acts, these small acts that we think that it doesn't give any sort of significance, but it actually does to attract the Malay Muslim voters. But here's the thing, lah. It's only as Anwar is doing it. It has become some sort of cult of personality. So I think this is where I want to touch, lah. Actually, the cabinet is not actually doing a good job. I mean, the whole of cabinet, the entire cabinet, to attract the Malay Muslim voters. Because what I see right now is that who's actually really pushing for it, it's Anwar only. Yeah, it's like a one-man game here. Yeah.
But in a globalized world, we are talking about a globe. I remember when I was in school, then we used to write karangans of global village and all that we used to call it. But that's already happened now. You're looking at the sort of end of borders between countries. Now it's just corporations and countries that have money to invest. Do you think the approach of prioritizing one community over the others, not to a great extent, but still, even though if there is a small tendency to do so, is beneficial to the country in the long run?
Are you talking in the context of Anwar being the chairman for Asian right now? Well,
No, I am talking in the context of Anwar being somebody who is trying to get the Muslim vote, right? Which is a political game again, and I completely respect that.
Yes.
But by doing so, by creating all these different initiatives that you have highlighted, is that going to serve our future better in terms of our competitiveness with the rest of the world?
Okay. I'm going to touch a bit on new economic policy as well.
Sure.
On this thing, I think it's very important to chip in this because you mentioned about how is this actually doing an injustice, I would say, to other communities from different racial backgrounds. I think Anwar I don't think Anwar is actually prioritizing them only. I think what he's doing is doing it concurrently. I think one of the things that he actually tried to fight for, not fight, I would say, I think he announced about as long this is education wise, as long there is any, it doesn't matter Malay, Chinese or Indian, if they get straight A's, they will get into matrix. Yeah. And because there has been allegations saying that they cannot get into universities even though they don't have 10 A's. So these are the things that he's been mentioning, and also his allocation of funds mainly for Mitra, he increased it. I won't say that he actually is, like, the reality right now is that he's only prioritizing the Malay Muslim voters over the other. I think he's actually playing a balance here. He's being careful because Anwar knows that he cannot just being a populist lah. Anwar also, he cannot only rely on the Malay voters. He still needs the Indian and Chinese voters. And also given that it's a multiracial party, that's our market value, I would say, in politics, right? So these are the things where I would say that if he were to prioritize, are you saying that as in a different scenario? Is that it? Or
what do you mean? Because
you said that he's prioritizing the other community over the other, right?
Yes.
So from my point of view, I don't think that's what he's doing, the reality right now. I think he's particularly doing his task in actually pushing for reforms for all, as PKR's ideal agenda, which is to create a country where it does not neglect any individual, be it from Chinese, Kadazan, so on and so forth. Yeah.
It's interesting when I'm talking to you, when you bring up that sort of example that you just said, I'm reminded of the movie American Gangster,
Okay.
And
Man, I
there's-
like that movie.
Yeah, it's an awesome movie, guys. Denzel Washington,
Denzel
super. So
Washington.
you can never go wrong with Denzel.
Yeah, never go wrong. Yep.
So there's the end scene where Denzel is talking to Russell Crowe, right? They're talking, and then Russell Crowe says that the reason why Denzel's character, Frank Lucas, is going through what he is because people don't like to see change. Right, change is something that the Italian mafia at that time and all these people who were controlling the drug trade at that time did not like to see one upstart who came in and just controlled everything.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, I'm just doing a comparison. But is that the idea why perhaps PKR is unable to secure the support of the Malay voters, because he is undoubtedly, he is, after all, the first prime minister from a multiracial party.
Yeah.
And that may not sit well with people who have grown up with the BN regime of before, where they have always been used to the one sort of UMNO being their representative, the champions of Malay nationalism. And now it's hard for them to switch to a multiracial party in unjustifiable fear, which I will say, because I agree with you. I think Anwar he still will prioritize what has been prioritized before.
Yeah.
But he's trying, like you said, he's trying to do it concurrently.
Okay.
So for them to make this shift,
Yeah.
it's a shift too big to make.
I think one of the things that you mentioned that one of the concerns of Anwar, he's coming from a multiracial party, and how does it actually affect the general populace, especially the Malay Muslim community? From what I see, I think if you look back to the party PKR's composition itself, the demographics itself, it's still Malay majority, and right now I think from what I see right now is the clutches of this racialized politics. It does gives an effect, but I think those are mostly coming from this far right individuals, the extremities, the very extremities at the end of the spectrum. But in the general populace, I think there is still a sense of acceptance of diversity, racial diversity. But they don't actually mind, the Malays, Muslim. This I'm trying to talk on behalf of the Malay Muslims. They don't actually mind having having coexistingly with Chinese and Indians. But I think one of the things why is it so hard for Malay Muslims, some Malay Muslim, is it's regarding like the practices. If we talk about Islamic values, Hindu values, Buddhist values, sometimes it collides, and it gives birth to this chaotic disagreement between interethnic. But in terms of interacting, like per se, like just like look you and me lah, for example, and lepak at mama, those are normal. So there is a norm where by its very surface level, we can do accept each other.
I'm just asking whether for a Malay voter who has grown up with the BN regime, where they sort of have gotten used to for 60 years more of Malay supremacy and Malay nationalism, to now make that switch to a leader from a party that's multicultural. Amidst all the noise from extremists, as you mentioned, who sort of question PKR's loyalty to the Malay fight. Wouldn't it be hard for them to make that shift? And could that be the key reason why PKR just cannot get that vote that they need, the vote bank that they need?
I think the only way to go from that shift is Anwar actually successfully imposing his ideals on actually creating the holistic man. I think I did mention about the national education philosophy of creating the holistic man, the man itself, creating an individual where the individual has this presupposition of Madani. The Madani means that there is the general acceptance of all ideas, of all cultures. There's tolerance, but to a certain extent, tolerance. And from what I see, what Anwar is doing is that he is trying to go through that phase of memadanikan. It's through the dispersion of knowledge, actually, from what I see. I don't think you can actually from PKR, trying to shift to this party where we can actually attract the Malay Muslim voters on how UMNO did, we cannot follow their steps. That's a no-go. That's a suicide route, because that will be an antithesis to what Anwar has been trying to fight for, which is creating trying to be a party that's I would say a universal good for all people from different backgrounds and races. And I see Anwar has been doing that in a very gradual approach. He's been gathering intellectuals that are who are aligned with his idea of being a Muslim progressive. He's been doing Majlis Ilmu Madani, for example, and those are the things where he is trying to teach and disperse his knowledge, his idea of the Asian Renaissance, be it internationally, nationally even. And it takes time. And I would say is that it's going to take about more than 20 years, I believe. Because do bear in mind, to me, from my point of view, I think this reformasi phase that we're going through right now is still at its baby stage. Because we just got into the government, plus with UMNO right now. Because before this, we were in the government. And yeah, we do have like Menteri Besar Selangor being he's from PKR, right? So, but now we're in the federal government, then only we can actually have our ideals and visions be dispersed to the people, which is to accept all people from different races, backgrounds, despite the different perspectives that we have. Because it's going to be an ongoing debate. It's not a matter of what is the actual absolute truth. It's more on how we interact. How do we get there? That's what's Anwar trying to disperse, that idea, that knowledge. And it's going to take time. And I think if that actually successfully dispersed to all layers of culture, all layers of society, then only we would actually make a cultural shift rather than trying to fulfill the sensations of the Malay Muslim voters. Yeah.
Could it be also, and I just have a few more questions on this segment to move on to the next, but could it be also that when Anwar, from the start of PKR, from the start of the Reformasi movement, the constant sort of supporter then was DAP, right? DAP was always there from the start as one of the components for the opposition bloc. Now that they are in power, now PKR is in power, do you think that PKR's growth is limited by DAP? Because the ties between both those parties are oftentimes, okay, forget the ties, but we hear from the PN bloc, oftentimes they always criticize DAP. And that sort of could enter into the mindsets of the Malay voters, and because sort of guilt by association. Okay. And that is why PKR just cannot grow to extend into the Malay vote bank, because they are carrying, they have DAP next to them.
Okay. I won't say that DAP itself is being a barrier for PKR or PH itself to actually get the Malay Muslim voters. But I do think we need to criticize on how they actually approach and talk about issues that are related to Malay Muslim narratives. I can give you an example. I think Tara Sokot brought about the sijil halal. Okay, it's her right to talk about it. But in terms of damage control, in terms of narratives, I don't think she should be the one who was the proponent of that, because that is actually becoming a challenge. It's going to add and exacerbate the challenge for PH itself. So I think it's not about DAP itself being a barrier. It's about how do they actually approach these narratives. So I think to solve this problem mainly is to sit down and actually discuss back on how do we actually handle issues that could bring about damages, bring forth damages to to the party in regards to Malay Muslim narratives. So so that's my take actually. It's more on to revise back on how we approach these issues, PKR and DAP
to be more tactical.
To be more tactical. It's more on tactics. It's more on strategy. Because every time there's issues regarding Malay Muslim narratives, it's not just Tara Sokot. I think it was Howard. Howard also, he recited the Quran verse before. To me, it's not a problem for him. He can. It's his right to do so. But I think there was a mistake a bit on how he recites it. And then you'll get, of course you're going to get a backlash. So it's not about, sometimes in politics, it's not about whether it's right or wrong. It's about how you approach it. And I can say is that it was a blunder, political blunder actually for DAP to approach as such. Yeah.
And also considering that the DAP also have Malay members within their party, they should have used them to voice out.
Use them, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so let's right before we take a break from this part, because we are going to get into that as well. I want to discuss with you Anwar's foreign policies and all that.
Okay.
But now, it is fair to say that the future of the country is definitely decided by the Malay vote bank, considering that they are the largest.
Okay.
It is sort of fair assumption to make, right? In a recent interview, I cannot remember who it was, but it was an interview by, I think he's an UMNO member, and he was talking about his conversations with KJ, right before KJ contested in Sungai Buloh.
Okay.
And I think it was, I don't remember. So anyway, it was in a podcast. It's on YouTube. You guys can check it out. And how the initial plan was, one of the locations that was offered to KJ was Shah Alam. But KJ turned it down because saying that he wouldn't fare well in Shah Alam because he didn't want he can't win in an overly Malay majority constituency, right? So when I think about that, when you peel it back, here's a candidate. Whatever issues you may have with KJ, you cannot deny that the man has a very attractive portfolio. He's held 3 ministerial portfolios.
Yes, true.
And he's done them well, right? Okay. He was the health minister during a time of crisis, a global crisis, and he did it well, regardless of whatever issues you may have with him. But he did carry himself. He is a very good figure to have as a brand because he dresses well, he speaks very well in Oxford. He does very well.
Okay.
If a Malay vote bank cannot elect him simply because of perhaps they may view him as not too Malay. Can the Malay vote bank truly be relied on to decide the future of the country when they do not elect based on quality, but rather than how Malay a person is?
Okay. I think we need to contextualize this properly.
Sure.
Okay, so in regards to the policies that are related to the general population for Malaysians, from what I think, we shouldn't rely on sentiments only from the Malays. And let's bear in mind, I don't think that what Anwar has been advocating his policies, it has been that populist actually. It has been actually very, I would say, quite the opposite thing, and I don't think it's mainly on the sentiment of Malays on actually trying to garner their hearts, but it's more on the universal good for all. Yeah, so that's from what I see, and I don't think that the Malays, I would say, the Malay Muslim majority that are playing sentiments are mainly deciding on policies that are being forth by the unity government. Because for now, from what I see, the initiative that's been made, it's not merely for the sentiments. No, it's basically for the bare minimum welfare of Malay Muslims, be it Chinese or even Indians. So. But basically your question was, how do actually the Malay voters the Malay vote bank can actually decide on
the future of
the country? Well, yes, they do play sentiments, but let's do bear in mind, we live in a country that's deep rooted in democracy, and whatever that, there could be some sentiments, but there are also some things that they say that are actually valid and sound. And I think we should listen and carefully listen because issues like poverty, issues regarding such as education, accessibility to education, these are the things playing a big part in them as well, like wage stagnation, great employability. So these are the things that are actually touching their hearts too. It's not only mainly on sentiments, actually, the Malay Muslim sentiments, because I think this would be the myth, I would say. People think when people talk about Malay Muslim, I'm afraid there's a bias here. Because when people start to think about Malay Muslim, it's all about Islam. But I don't think so. No, that's not true. They also it's also about issues regarding like Infelda issues, regarding farmers, regarding fishermen. It's not all about Islamic elements.
There are also economical elements.
Elements, social elements here.
Yeah.
So I think we really need to be careful when actually trying to analyze this issue here, because we do not want to be swayed on this idea where Malay Muslims is all about being the proponent of religion. It's not all about religion, actually. It's also about their needs and demands.
Okay. So now let's move into the next segment, which is actually where I wanted to start off, but I think we've spent about 50 minutes talking about this, so it was fun. I love this boxing match, I really do. Awesome, man. Would love to have you on again, definitely. So let's talk about PKR now. PKR, you can choose not to answer if you don't want to, I understand. But you have your upcoming party elections in May. And there was an announcement recently that both the president and vice president posts will not be contested.
Deputy president.
Deputy president post will not be contested. Now, PKR Perak, I think yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, has come out in support of this. They have supported this. Do you support this move? You can plead the fifth if you want to.
No comment. No comment.
No comment. Guys, I think this segment is going to have a lot of no comment. Let's go. Now, again, still on that topic. Let's see whether you bite on this one. So, again, KJ, when he left, he was fired by UMNO. One of the sparks that lit the fire was the issue that Datuk Seri Zahid Hamidi at that time as well did not want for the presidency to be contested in the UMNO elections, right? And that is where, the whole iconic, I'm ready to fight and all these things came about, right? Is this similarity between both parties, PKR and UMNO now, a sign that both parties may not be that different at all, and in essence, their political beliefs may still be the same? One may be, perhaps it's a case of the emperor's new clothes. It's new just because people say it is.
I think it's different. For me, it's different. Because from what I see, PKR was built under the, I would say, how do you say this? Hope, and also spirit of actually getting Anwar to become the Prime Minister, to impose his ideals, and not contesting for the presidency. I think I'm starting to agree to it. You know what? Screw it. Okay. I think in this context of, man, you trapped me. You're good. Okay. So in this
it's my job.
It's your job. Yeah. Never mind. Okay. So like right now in this context, I think there is a necessity for Anwar to remain as president, because he just became the Prime Minister. We want to avoid any sort of political instability for now.
Definitely.
Yeah, because Anwar is the Prime Minister. He just got in for like about 2 years or so in the government. So let's say if he's not the president, because the contestation, and suddenly there's some guy in PKR wants to bring him down, then it's going to probably affect his performance. He's going to lose grassroots support, probably, if there was to be a contest for the president seat. So I think it's not the same with the case of Zahid and KJ, because there are actually groups who are against Zahid. Yeah. So that's where the differences are drawn. It could be the roots comes mainly from the issue of money politics. Actually, like KJ's side, they were actually trying to overcome that. But here's I want to touch a bit on UMNO, because I know a few people who are actually contesting for UMNO Bahagian, Cawangan and all. No Bahagian, and he actually called outrightly, want to stop money politics. I don't want to say his name. He said that during his campaign. Then he didn't win, obviously. Yeah, because it's so entrenched, But in the case of PKR, the general populace believe that Anwar should be the president in PKR, the grassroots PKR, and also that the prime ministership should be continued by Anwar. You won't see a single guy from PKR would want Anwar to step down. No way, step down from the presidency. So I think that's where the differences are drawn. But here's a bit of insights that I can garner. I think there are some groups in PKR who are concerned on our, I would say, moral dependence on Anwar. Yeah, it could be
You
moral
don't have
dependence.
other leaders, yeah.
Ideological dependence on Anwar. Cult of this cult of personality towards Anwar, which exists among grassroots PKR because they say Anwar, like Anwaris. There are a lot of Anwaris, but there are groups where I won't say anti-Anwaris. It's just that they believe that we need to actually revamp the leadership, find, I would say, pelapis, leaders to one day replace Anwar's position.
Yeah.
Not saying that we need someone that was exactly like Anwar or just a copycat. No, but what we need, someone who can actually continue his legacy. So, this could be quite associated to this idea of some people will disagree of it not being contested, because there are actually individuals. I think one of the former PKR from Perak, actually former PKR, he actually disagreed on not having it contested because these individuals believe that we need someone who can actually replace Anwar one day when he's old, right? When he passes, who's going to replace him? Yeah, so these are the things where why this idea came about, why people are disagreeing with not if those seats being uncontested, because there is a I won't say general belief, I mean the belief that the idea that if no one's going to replace Anwar, then PKR is going to plunder, really.
Is that the reason why Tengku Zafrul is coming into PKR? Perhaps he's the successor.
I don't know. I won't say successor, but what I know is that one of the main concerns of the ones who are discerned in this, the PKR members or even PKR leaders, is that they are not leaders to replace Anwar, but leaders who are, I would say, competent. And from my point of view, this is an individual point of view, not PKR's point of view. What I see is that if Tengku Zafrul was in PKR, I would welcome him, actually. Okay, because we do need more technocrats actually in PKR. Yeah, and we are lacking that. We're lacking technocrats. Yeah. So yeah.
I won't go into that because I have another question on that. But let's still stay on PKR. So another person who's also came from a student activism background is Adam Adli, who has come up in the news recently saying that expressed his aspirations for contesting for PKR's Majlis Pimpinan Pusat MPP. Do you think it's time for Mr. Adam to fly to such heights?
Okay, I do.
Plead the fifth. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be. Okay, here it goes. Okay, I'm gonna be pretty docile on this. Okay, so about Adam. Okay, let's talk a bit about him. His background.
Okay.
He comes from a background of student activism. Okay, we cannot declare that his background in student activism has been phenomenal. Okay, that's one. But we must also recognize that he contested PKR in AMK as someone who is not from the grassroots during the beginning. Actually, there was quite a dissatisfaction during the beginning, but then people actually start to accept it, because I think it was during the debate where Anwar debated Fahmi and people start to see macam, okay, I think Adam can help us lah. And he got Anwar's restu, Anwar's restu to actually lead AMK, right, Angkatan Muda Keadilan. So yeah, people had that agreement. But transitioning to the Majlis Pimpinan Pusat is that would be that's difficult actually, because it's more reliant. It will be more reliant on grassroots supports. Yeah, and if you ask me, I don't think Adam has much of a strong support right now. Like, it's not his bulwark, because even from PKR members, there is quite a dissatisfaction on Adam Adli's performance as the Ministry of Youth. And I'm not saying it's awful, it's terrible, but there's no, I would say, the wow factor. So this is playing a part because he's a Ministry of the Deputy Minister. So we are not seeing it, we're not seeing the wow factor in compared to KJ. Well, we can say he is the Deputy Minister, but we do believe that he could have maybe done something that's, that where like some sort of project that he's based on his philosophy, that could be something that's memorable. I even talked to some of my UMNO friends, and then they bring about KJ being Ministry of Youth, and then I was trying to defend Adam to this time. I'm just like, what can I actually say?
Man.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's awful. No, it's just that he lacks a wow factor here. Yeah.
It's not memorable.
I don't see anything memorable yet because come on, he hasn't finished his tenure yet. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Okay?
Let's wait and see. So, just now I brought up the issue of Tengku Zafrul because there was an article that came out that said that basically he is expected to join PKR, though he may take a brief hiatus from politics before doing that, right? Yeah. Now, I just want to get your perspective as an outsider. What do you think this move from UMNO to PKR would do to UMNO Harapan relations? Because this is a bit different. It's not like Azmin Ali, there was an issue. Okay. KJ, there was an issue, and then it forced them out. But this is a voluntary saying, I'm jumping ship.
Okay. On that matter particularly, I think we should also look at Tengku Zafrul's background first. He wasn't in UMNO that very long, actually. Yeah, he actually had a stint in UMNO, actually. He also became the Bendahari UMNO, and he was actually, he stepped down. I think those are already signs where he already gave to UMNO a signal, which is, I think it was last year, is it? That he stepped down as a Bendahari UMNO Selangor. And he also he even denounced it. Why? He said he denounced on the cartel politics that's being played in the UMNO grassroots, in UMNO Selangor. So he said that mainly, and I think this is already giving signal to UMNO that, guys, I don't like you guys. You guys are not doing a good job. This is not good. This is not progressive. So, if Tengku Zafrul were to actually transition to PKR, being a member or a component leader even, well, I think at first UMNO would have UMNO and PKR already have a love-hate relationship. But to say it's going to give a significant impact, I defer because, well, Tengku Zafrul has already gave that signal early on, like prior. So it's just about time, actually. Yeah.
Now, one thing that has come up again, speaking of returns on investment, if you will, or working more for the benefit of the many instead of the few, right? One recent example, a topic that's been talked about a lot is, of course, PMX. He announced the decision to invest in Palestine. To build a school, a hospital, and I think a mosque, if I'm not mistaken, right? Now, many people, of course, are saying, why don't focus on local developments? To which his response was, where is your humanity and all that? But I guess what the people are saying sort of is related to charity begins at home, right? So what is your thoughts about this? What do you think about his focus or his wanting to invest in Palestine? While and bear in mind those people those naysayers may have a point, because there are still schools, for example, Tamil schools that are not built up. There are still schools that are operating off containers. But wanting to build something in a foreign land instead of solving your problems here, what's your thought about that?
I think what the naysayers are saying, stupid. I think it's stupid, really, because first of all, let's gauge the level of calamity that's happening upon the Palestinians. It's terrible. It's awful, and these are the things that I think I can touch on . First of all, I think we should get the facts right first. Anwar is building a wakaf where we will receive donations. So it's not necessarily using the public's funds. No, it's also receiving for individual donors, from even private entities. So to say that we are using a big chunk portion of the public funds is totally wrong. That's one. So And I do believe it can be done concurrently. One, you can still fix what's going on in the other country, and also what's happening in our land, in Malaysian soil. And yeah, Anwar's been doing that actually. And I think we have read the news. He's actually went to Sekolah Daif. He even focused on toilets. He has even allocated funds mainly on toilets, so that students will actually have comfort.
Which, by the way, that's a very good sort. Because as I remember from school, my God, the toilets.
I would like to talk about my college at my university. Sorry, it's worse actually.
I think that's where all the world's diseases comes up.
Not school, university. University.
We'll leave UCAM out of this. Yeah.
Let's see UCAM out of
Please
this.
sign up for UCAM. UCAM is great.
Yeah, UCAM is great.
Now, that's a good point, and I want to go to, since we talk about university, let's go there.
Sorry, I need to.
Oh, please go on.
Sorry. So I think these are the things where he's actually trying to educate the Malaysians actually on this. He's trying to show that these are the part where the humanity aspect is important. It's not just about doing justice for our nation, but it's also building a nation where we believe in the universal good, believe in global justice, and he is actually being the exemplary figure on that on it. So that's why he's putting a waqaf in Palestine. That's the only thing that he can be doing right now, for now, in the short. I would say long-term, actually. A long-term plan on how to actually assist the Palestinians.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair
So I think this is what I see. One of the ways he is trying to humanize, memadanikan the individuals of Malaysia. Yeah.
Okay.
People.
Now, speaking of universities, you, of course, have a rich history of being a student activist and all that. Now, there was a survey conducted across Southeast Asia. Okay. Malaysian students, and I must say we are now sort of going back to what we discussed earlier on, but I guess we started there, let's close there as well. So Malaysian students ranked that the religiosity of political candidates is of highest importance, with 75.9% who said that religion of their political candidates or government is important to them.
Yep.
Now, majority of the survey respondents were Malay Muslim students.
Yep.
So as a former Malay Muslim student, do you concur with this finding?
As in, agree as a conclusive answer. If you were to be a leader, you must have that.
It means you must be of the same religion as me.
I wouldn't say that it has to be the same religion, but I would say that is okay. Here's the thing. Like I mentioned just now, I did mention about if you want to bring about progress, we do still need to be fulfilling the status quo of the cultural status quo, the cultural idea, the sentiments of the community in a certain setting. And now in this setting that we're talking about is universities. So we have university students actually saying that there is an importance on their, is it level or religiosity, or is that?
No, just the religiosity. That means if he's Muslim, then that would really sway
their religion, background religion. So he needs to be a Muslim. Basically, that's the finding.
That's the finding. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you of that same ilk? Do you also subscribe to that?
Me, individually.
Yeah.
I would say no, because from what I see, like the issues that pertaining, the issues in campus mainly, it's not mainly pertaining to issues regarding religion. Actually, it's more on welfare issues. So let's say if there is a student leader, let's say. Sorry, we're talking about the religiosity of national leaders.
National leaders.
Oh my God, I am so sorry. I thought you were talking about campus leaders.
No.
Okay.
The respondents were students.
Yeah, respondents were students.
My chancellor needs to be Muslim as well.
Okay, so national leaders. Well, I think that's where it's reflected upon the majority of the populace. It's not. I think that's that particular opinion saying that the prime minister has to be a Muslim basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same religion as me.
Same religion as me. Okay. Here's the thing. Well, we know that our country, the status quo is Malay Muslim majority. I think we need to subscribe to that. If we were to actually go off track of that, any sort of individuals, you're going to receive a quite big backlash, because I think that's one of the bare minimums where at least by perception, not by policy, by perception, it keeps Malay Muslims in an ease. You know, if they were to feel like, okay, we have a Muslim Prime Minister, they will be fighting for issues pertaining to Islamic values, you know. And do bear in mind, not all the things that have been discussed on, you know, Islamic values is not just merely sentiment. There are actually really issues that are touching the elements of their religiosity, like the Mufti Bill, for example, RUU 355. These are the things that will actually impact the rule of law on the Muslims. Okay, so I think I do concur with that finding.
Okay, now again, before I move to the next question, just a bit of I guess context, if you will, or just some background. Now, my personal belief is that I've never really looked at my leader's religion as an issue, right? Because I'm from the minority living in Malaysia, so definitely I accept the fact that the Prime Minister is going to be Malay, and all that. I'm more skewed to policies, and I guess we perhaps, like you, since you come from PKR, I'm a person who leans more to multiculturalism and all that. That's me. That's bread and that's to my bone, right? But the thing is that what I miss about Malaysian politics is the statesmen. People like Tun Dr. Ismail, for example. People like Dato' On. You know, these were really charismatic, visionary leaders. You know,
Anwar's not that?
I'll save my... Oh, you got me. 1-1. No, I mean, especially I'm talking about leaders of old, right? They had vision. They had, you know, they wanted to take the country to a location. That's what. So I like that. I miss that.
Okay.
Now, you wrote an article, Neoliberalism's Grip on Malaysia. Okay. One part about it that I liked was you said how the neoliberal policies had eroded the NEP's social justice goals and fueled the rise of crony capitalism, income inequality, and this is what I'm focused on, moral decay.
Yes.
This is a big thing for me, right? For me, if you are a Malay leader, that to me doesn't matter. But your policies should benefit, regardless of whatever NEP, regardless of all that, should benefit everybody. It should provide prosperity to everyone, right? Now, when you look at the recent issues that are being talked about in Malaysian political arena, such as the ham sandwich by Dr. Akmal, the allegations from PAS towards Hannah Yeoh, even AMK, they also sort of joined in the cacophony about the ham sandwich. I think they had a press release, right?
Yeah, they did.
What is your view on the current Malay Muslim leader? And do you think that they are leading you all to a better place? Do you think that they are bringing our society forward in terms of what they speak and their focus and their policies?
Okay. I'm afraid this question could actually lead to a form of overgeneralization. But so it's really hard to actually make a comparative, because there are actually Malay Muslim leaders who are not doing their job, but there are actually Malay Muslim leaders who are doing their job.
One particular is Nick Nazmi. I like him.
Nick Nazmi especially.
I love the guy.
Even Rafizi, even though he has his snob.
By the way, since you brought him up, I have to ask this question. Is what they say true? Is PKR divided Camp Rafizi and Camp Anwar?
No comment. No comment.
Okay, you played the fifth. So
no comment.
So go on, back to that. Yeah, your view on the current Malay leader crop that we see.
The Malay Muslim leaders. I think, I don't know, when you ask this question, actually, you're formulating this way. It's like we're already putting race. Race is like the main thing that's
no, it's not. It's not. Why I say this, because you see, as what you said, right? You said that we are a Malay Muslim majority, and we all accept that. I think we all accept that. Nobody against that. But the idea is that what I would like to see is like what Tan Sri Rafida Aziz said, right, on the podcast, the KS podcast, where she said that, look, there's a difference between a statesman and a politician. A statesman thinks about the future. A politician thinks about the next election. I want to see more Malay leaders, people like Nick Nazmi, people who are very good at their job and they have a plan. How I remember his interview on KS. I love that interview. The way he spoke was so well. He spoke really well. He talked about energy crisis and how he wants to change. I love that.
Yeah, I love him. Yeah, I think this is one of my...
But when I see Dr. Akmal, when I see every day is ham sandwich, every day is this nonsense.
Oh, man.
Doesn't it make you feel, come on, man, can we talk about something else? Can we focus on what matters?
Yes. Okay, so... Okay, maybe for me to formulate this. Okay, I think the Malay Muslim leaders, there's people like Ammar Syabil, for example, they're not doing a good job if they were to continue pushing for this narratives, this such low-level narrative, just to make themselves as the hero of the Malays. To put on a heroic stand when actuality is not even giving any much impact for the Malay Muslims. But maybe I need to touch a bit on AMK a bit, because we did touch on UMNO, because they talked about the ham sandwich. From what I see from AMK's statement, okay, first of all, I'm not from the Pusat, AMK Pusat. So this is all their decisions. Okay. From what I see, they were actually touching more on the substance of it. Okay, so actually the ham was actually not halal actually.
So that's why the guy is.
So to me, from what I see, is that I don't know who's actually the culprit here in KK Mart, because I don't know the nitty-gritty details, right? Whoever did that, what he did was not respecting the culture of the Malay Muslims. So where's the respect for diversity? So if you were to rethink about this issue, right? Actually, AMK in this matter, they are actually doing their part in respecting the cultural diversity, But however, I do see this not desperateness they're trying to actually have a level playing field, which to me, I don't think they should go to that direction.
Definitely.
I don't think they should be at least not obsessed with it, not thinking about what's the next strategy? How do we fight this off? No, I think the next strategy that should be taking is more on being the proponent of issues pertaining to that's more at touch of the people, statesmanship, right? That could not a touch at the heart, but that will actually impact them. That they will actually have tangible effects.
And interestingly, if you read the book on Tan Sri Queen Siam, because I actually had him on the podcast end of last year, and in his book he details the fact that in the 95 general elections, what happened was that it was a huge loss for the opposition. And even the Chinese did not vote for DAP. They voted for BN. And the reason that happened was because the economy was doing so well that nobody wanted to change things, right? So I think like what you said just now, I completely agree that people's concerns at the end of the day are economic centric, right?
Social.
So if what I would expect from people like Dr. Akmal and all that, if you're such a loud voice, you have such a platform, use it for good. Like that ham sandwich issue, it was settled because they found that the vendor had basically falsified halal certs. It's done. He found and all that, right? But I just feel that the constant focus on say henna yo and all this, it's taking away the sting that politics.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's talk about different things, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree. I do strongly agree with that. Yeah.
Like what we are doing now. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Before we close, I want to touch on just one man, very famous, and he's sort of coming up back to the limelight. Is Datuk Seri Najib. Okay. Here we go. So recently there was an article, opinion piece that said that Datuk Seri Najib now commands amazing grassroots support, right? Even stronger than Zahid, some say.
Really?
And the reason being that because some of they saying because his court appearances are strengthening his martyr image, right? Now, one thing I have always never got an answer to again when I watch all the news and I see his supporters and all that stuff. I wonder, despite the 1MDB scandal, despite his convictions and all, the whole bag, the Birkin bags and all this kind of stuff, what is it the appeal you think of Najib that still commands such grassroots support?
the appeal that he shows.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's very ingrained on this idea that alah, kita tahu dia buat tu tapi banyak jasa dia. Banyak jasa dia. And it's actually it's effective, that particular phrase if you use to in the general population. They know the corruption happened. They know the scandal is big. They know in their hearts, but at the back of their mind, they still believe that Najib can be forgiven and so on and so forth. Which, if you ask me, of course, hell no, man, hell no.
Now, his party, of course, UMNO, has definitely fallen from grace, from where they were, right? Definitely. In your opinion, what would it take for UMNO to go back to its former glory? Is it the return of Najib? Is it the reinstatement of KJ? What would it take? Because considering
Glory
that they are losing Tengku Zafrul now, then they lose another charismatic leader, a liked leader, and they are basically, they have no subs.
They need to buck up in terms of actually, I do understand UMNO being a Malay party, and okay, I'm trying to be understanding here. Well, UMNO is a party that advocates for Malay, for the Malays, mainly just the Malays, and it's not that weird to actually see like Ammar Syabil playing the Malay Muslim narratives, but they really need to buck up in terms of need to really get them out of the clutches of the money politics that's being played. Something's very entrenched. And I think Zahid actually announced that kita tidak boleh mengharapkan duit dah. I think he made that particular speech. So I think there is a general conscience there, among the leaders of UMNO about this. But so what they need to do is the restatement of KJ would help actually. Definitely will help. I think that's undeniable. Yeah, but however, like some grassroots members would think that, because here's the thing about, I talked to a few of UMNO members before, they have this idea that loyalty is everything. But right now, actually, there are some individuals who look at KJ, maybe I would say from the camp of Zahid lah, they would say that, KJ ni dah tak loyal kepada UMNO. He's just doing all these things just for himself, just for his populist demands, his populist fulfillment, just to bring down Zahid and so on. But when in actuality, I do see a bit of sincerity lah in what he's trying to bring forth for UMNO. And if they don't want to lose another, Tengku Zafrul lah, which we are not sure will they lose him or not. They should really
this is all hypothetical.
Hypothetical, yes. The MKT lah, the main leaders should buck up in that terms to actually start accepting such leaders, because, and to do that is actually to refrain from money politics, because money politics, building these political warlords, are the reasons why we are actually, why UMNO, it's hard to find genuine leaders who are charismatic, because it's all dependent on money, grassroots. You give money to grassroots, and then you get the votes, and then you're up there chilling on your imagined seat of power, rather than actually bringing change as a statesman.
Now, last but not least, okay, there are murmurings of a snap elections. Bersatu there was an article that was internal memo, right? End of this year. And when I read that, I was like, it does make sense, because we are seeing sort of a decline in PN's appeal to the Malay voter. We are seeing a rise in Anwar's mandate. I think it's now about 50+%. I think there's a rise from what it was. So, okay, it's the right time. That makes sense, pretty makes sense. But let's not go to that. Now, since you are somebody who looks up to Anwar, PMX, I remember when I used to watch football. I'm a hardcore Man U fan last time. And I remember there was one analysis where they said that all the managers that came in post Sir Alex, you could never really identify how they would play on the pitch. When Sir Alex was the coach, you knew how they would play. You knew what to expect, right? You knew what the person that he was in terms of his vision on how they should play. When we look at politics, the same thing. When you tell me Tun Mahathir, I think modernization. I think putting us on the world map. How would you sum up Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim if in the coming snap elections he doesn't win, which I doubt, like, I think it'll be basically what it is now. But how would you sum up his leadership and his time as Prime Minister?
Well, I know Anwar doesn't like to use the word the bapa of this, the bapa of that. I think he mentioned before, but I would call him the bapa yang merakyatkan. Yeah, I would call him that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, aligned with the ideals of PKR lah, Parti Keadilan Rakyat. It's actually trying to bring justice to the people again, because I think we can see from the policies that he's made, and also rationalization of subsidies, actually taxing the rich. He's actually taking gradual, slow and steady policies on how to tackle these problems. But yeah, but to say that he's the bapa, like, cause you know the placard you saw bapa pembebasan rasuah during the protests. I know that's just people trying to create a caricature, but if you were to call him that, that would be, it's not he can't be that person yet, because let's admit he hasn't actually spearhead any really rigorous reforms on anti-corruption.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not yet, because we know the give and take thing, and the Political Parties Act, the Political Financing Act, the independence of MECC, it hasn't been, and also the separation between the AG and PP, it hasn't been implemented yet. It hasn't brought into fruition. So these are the things where he needs to. I know there's a give and take here. Okay. I think we're gonna go a bit sideways. Is it okay? It's fine. It's fine. We see the student protests, right? Some would criticize, saying that, they don't understand in politics. It takes a gradual time. It takes it has to be slow and steady. To actually push for reforms. But it's sad to see when there's no single reforms yet on anti-corruption agendas, and the students protesting, I think what they are actually advocating for is very valid. We cannot deny that there is the righteous rage in them right here, and it's also felt by many people. It's not just the students; it's felt by many people. Yeah, and so that's why I believe that lebih pada bapa yang merakyatkan, because Anwar is actually playing that part. It's actually going back to the people. He's doing that. But I don't want to be seen as someone so obsessed with Anwar. So that's why I'm mentioning the part of the reforms or anti-corruption. He's not doing it.
Okay.
Yeah. So he really needs to, buck up on that.
All right, man. Okay. I hope he watches this. And
I know, please don't.
Before I leave you, I got to ask this question. You're a youth in politics. I mean, you are definitely on the rise, I would presume. What's your political ambition? Where do you see yourself? I know it's a bad question to ask.
Yeah, it is.
Well, which position do you covet the most?
That I've covered?
No. Where do you see? What is your ultimate goal when it comes to politics? Where do you want to be? PMO's office?
Oh, no. Well, I think I see myself as more of a statesman rather than rather than having a big position. I don't know, a big position, a significant position in the political structure of PKR. For now, because I'm still young here. I'm 23 years old. Not even 23 still, technically, because my birthday's on May. So I'm still 22. First of all, I do still want to. I believe that I will still continue as long as I could in advocating for PKR's ideals, visions, social justice mainly, and I will go on with it. But in terms of the political ambition, I do see myself one day to be holding a significant position in trying to lead the youth. Yeah, the youth of AMK. Yes, I do see myself as that person, and I'm not saying this out of just braggness or just out of unchecked confidence. I'm speaking this out of my understanding of how AMK is right now. Okay, because I did mention about AMK being a party. Ooh, this is so scary, but I'm going to touch on it. PKR in general, moving sideways from the reformist agenda, we're seeing like some PKR individuals starting to be a copycat of UMNO, being in the government, doing that and this. I don't want to say what is that, but yeah, so I would like to circumvent that.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that ambition, and not to circumvent that to make myself look as some moral superior in this, like I'm the best person, because I haven't been in PKR for that long pun. But I do believe is that to restore this ideals back to the hearts of the youth PKR. Yeah. So if I were to lead AMK, that will be my selling point lah. I would say my selling point, my vision, to restore it back and to actually play a significant role in that. Because you did mention about suddenly PKR jumping into the ham and sandwich issue, suddenly becoming the proponents of the issue, and then for me, if you ask me, I kind of don't like that. I kind of disagree with that approach. I'm afraid they're going to follow the orang kata rentak pembangkang. We don't want that. We don't want AMK to be that particular party.
They're trying to out Malay everyone.
Because I would like to see AMK, mainly the youth, to actually be more policy centric, to be more vision centric. We already believe that Anwar's ideals, but what can we actually offer to manifest those ideals? Because right now Anwar is being the chairperson of ASEAN. So us from AMK, let's say, how can we do that to help? And actually, there are already small groups of AMK who's actually going to that direction. Maybe I can name one like AMK Bukit Bintang. Yeah, they've been actually pretty much doing a good job in that. In actually trying to form ideas. They actually even met embassies. Even had some. I was also one of those. Went to those visits as well. Went. Tirusima was the embassy of Zambia. Yeah, had some exchange on the ideas of good governance and anti-corruption in their culture. So these are the things that could help. In to garner insights on to frame and craft policies for Anwar's for the spearhead of Anwar's ideals on global justice. Yeah.
All right, man, and we wish you all the best. I must say, I and this is since we are done with the interview, but I must say I've truly enjoyed this conversation because you're a very good sparring partner and it's fun.
Oh.
Yeah, it's very fun to have this conversation. Always you have once about it was nice, and I love to have you back on again. Definitely discuss new issues and all that. So guys, there we go. That was Mr. Ammar, member of PKR, and who knows, a future Ketua AMK, and who knows, maybe Minister of Youth one day. We'll see.
Okay, we'll see.
So thank you again, buddy. Thank you, Prof, for connecting. Definitely a star guest, and we'll love to have you back on again.
All right.
I love your opinions.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this very much, actually.
Me too, man. So that's all we have for you all tonight, folks. Stay tuned for more episodes. Next up, we have a few authors coming on and a few more political people to share insights on Malaysia's current political landscape. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.